Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Perspective. I'm your host, Iva Williams. Today we have Chanel, we have Anissa, we have Miss B, and we have Krista. And today we're going to talk about, and let me preface this with, when Mother's Day come around, social media is filled with, loving messages towards, people's mothers, loving memory towards people's mothers who passed away. It's just a very beautiful day. Father's Day, on the other hand, you'll have a few that say, where would I be without my father? But you have other ones like, I don't know who my father is. He was never there. And, or my mother is my father, So I wanted to talk about something, and I'm glad, I'm just glad that we have four women to talk about it. How important is a father in a girl's life? And I think I want to start with Anissa.
Having a father in a girl's life is so important. Your father should be your first love. And I remember my father had a lot of children. He was married 3 times. He was married to my mother 8 years until she passed away from breast cancer. And so he had to play that mother and father role until he got remarried again. And I remember my stepmom and their relationship. But it was so important because he had a lot of girls. So it was me and 3 of my sisters, and he had another from a previous marriage. And so I remember he bought our first jewelry with our birthstone and just little things like that to let us know that we are important, that we should be loved and appreciated, and the way that, we should look at those qualities when we're finding our husband. Right. All my sisters are married, except myself. But in relationships, it plays a role in how I look for a man to treat me. Right. It's so important.
And I think that is important. When I see, father and daughter dances, and I see when men give their daughters gifts, because, sometimes, that doesn't happen. A girl can be impressionable, and, any, boy get him something, and like, oh, well, he really loves, I'm special. And, that can lead to, other areas that are, that might not be good. So that is good to hear. So, Chanel, what do you think?
I agree with her. I think that your father sets the standard. I mean, for me, he's my example. So whenever I'm single, whenever I encounter or meet a man, that's my blueprint. I'm looking. I don't want to marry my father, but there has to be some similar characteristics in how he cares for me and how he loves me, how he prioritizes me, in his life. So I definitely think it's important.
Okay. What do you think, Miss B?
Oh my gosh, how important it is. Like, I will say, when I was young, my father gave me, not so much an engagement ring, but it was with rubies, and it was still rubies and diamonds, and he was like, anybody wants you, better do better than I did.
Right. Yes. Wow. That's great.
I was like, dang, bro, that's right. Like, and that was just, and no, he wasn't perfect. He had his faults, but he was there.
Right.
And I noticed the difference between how I am when it comes to certain things and how some of my friends who didn't have that.
Right.
I see just the difference in just a lot of viewpoints and a lot of like things that how we are. And then also because of watching, I know for me being Haitian and stuff like that, and watching the traditional role of my parents and just how a man and a woman interact in a household and just...
It's important to see that.
It is. And dating now and having certain expectations, and I make it very clear, these are certain expectations I have because I grew up seeing this. Right. My whole life, I grew up seeing that, granted, like I said, my father wasn't perfect, but he was a provider.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Their relationship wasn't perfect, but they were friends.
Right.
And even after their divorce, one thing that my mother always said, he was my friend.
Right. That's important.
So they're divorced now, and I think in divorce, they're better friends now than when they were together. But she always said, he's my friend, and he was my friend first and foremost.
Right.
And just
That's
watching.
An basis.
Yeah, so in my dating, it just made me look at like, yo, this is somebody I need to be with my friend. I need to be able to laugh and talk to somebody. I need to be somebody that understands my career because I travel all the time and just I see, and in my travels, because I'm going state to state and to different countries, it's so evident, and you can just almost point out, like, oh, you ain't got no man in there. You didn't have a father in your life, and I can tell.
And I also say, to your point, sex can only take you so far.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have to be able to talk about something.
Right.
And I always say, and I always tell my friends who are single, find you somebody that, doesn't get doesn't get on your nerves, but find you a friend. Find you somebody. They might get on your nerves, but I mean, find you somebody that when it's all said and done, y'all are friends.
Expand your pillow talk.
Right.
I mean, because if you can't talk about something, you can't joke with them. If you can't laugh, they don't make you laugh. Like, those are the intangibles in relationships and marriages that it's the glue. It's the glue that holds marriages together.
Friendship is important, because when you're not loving, you're always going to be loving, but when you're not liking each other, you can always fall back.
On the friendship. Yeah. And that you love them enough, you're friends with them, and you love them enough to care about how they feel.
Right.
So
work through it.
Right.
Absolutely.
What you think, Crystal?
Everyone hit it spot on, literally. If I can add anything to it, fathers are for sure a necessary influence in a young woman's life. Again, speaking personally, my work ethic comes from my dad. I mean, he's a blue-collar man with the same job still to this day.
Wow.
And, watching him wake up 3:30 in the morning and come home 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that set the bar for me, like for me personally. Even, with dating other men, that's fine too. Like, he, like you said, gave me a treasure that I still have to this day that I hold accountable. But outside of dating, life values and morals and my work ethic 100% comes from, my father's influence. And my mother was there too. She's a nurturer. But I'm not soft because I had my dad, in my life. So
can't be pushed over.
Exactly. Plenty of roles and purposes for a father in a woman's life, for sure.
Awesome subject. So, tell us about your father in the comments below. Tell him how he's influenced your life, how he's played a role in your life. This has been another episode of A Perspective. I'm your host, Iva Williams. Thank you for tuning in.